Yo, I was gonna talk to you a little bit in case something happens to me. A little bit about bodybuilding seems to be coming back. It seems to be kind of let's just say that. You can look and see about what has usually been happening in the United States of America is like creatine, whey, lots of pre workouts, Gatorade, stuff like that. The gym culture has always been like barbell, kind of like Smith machine type stuff, occasional dumbbells, and things of that nature. But a lot of times associated with creatine, whey, things like that. Expensive supplements that actually don't work for everybody. I have done a lot of research on creatine. It's supposed to be safe as milk, but it has, I don't know, raised my blood pressure in the past. Um, and then if you're doing a lot of pre-workout stuff, you could die, especially when you start exercising with it. So I have kind of different take on bodybuilding that is not really about aesthetics. It's more about like being brought in to it. So, um, my suggestion is to become anabolic first. That's the first mode. You want to switch from catabolism to anabolism, not with steroids and crap like that. Catabolism is like stress, anxiety, nervousness, all mental health disorders, like over on the catabolic side. And I'm not a doctor, I'm just putting some theories out there. You want to become anabolic before you exercise, and which would mean that you pretty much getting your natural testosterone production going first. I found that by taking a multivitamin every day, just once a day, that I started getting a lot more vitamin D, B vitamins, E vitamins, pretty much all of them. And I felt myself make a switch from that stress and anxiety over to like chilling, relaxing, uh, kind of enjoying life, contentment, just from the multivitamin. It did take about 6 weeks. Anyway, uh, the that I plenty of water. You do need to drink water. Don't get thirsty, but you know, so on and so forth. Now, taking a step up from multivitamin and water, you need to master your caffeine. The FDA recommends no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine every 24 hours. So you have got to really be careful. You can overdo it with sodas, tea, or coffee alone. And I would suggest from now on, you're every single time you buy like a supplement or you look at a drink like Aquafina or Propel, it doesn't matter. You look at the caffeine content and you need to keep track of your caffeine. Um, they say the average cup of coffee has 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine in it, and you have got to stop yourself at 400 milligrams per day for 24 hours at most. At most. And you probably don't even need that much, which is kind of like the point of this is like a divergence from American Americanism when it comes down to your health and your fitness. Why? Because it doesn't seem to work for everybody. I hate to say that. Now, I'm gonna suggest a diet change, changes in diet first. Not so much bread. Bread. Replace that with like rice, especially brown rice, and throw some chicken in with it. A little bit of broccoli, and then maybe this combination of a multivitamin and water, the appropriate amount of caffeine, along with plenty of nutritious rice with, like I said, chicken and broccoli. That's gonna really, really help you look at the rest of the food that's available in the supermarket and in junk. Like you can look at junk food and say, "Hey, I guess I can eat some chips today. I guess I can have some cookies." I just think that this process we're talking about will help you become, like I said, anabolic. It'll help you be hydrated. Your testosterone production is already going to go up naturally so that you don't have to necessarily even go to the gym. It's not about gym. Okay. So we've got all that taken care of. You're not going to lose weight. You're not really going to build muscle doing that. But you're going to feel better and you're going to um, probably determine whether you have time or the inclination to even go somewhere like Planet Fitness or worse. Let's talk about then. There are some non-verbal, non-language based signs, hand gestures you need to be like complete human being. One of them is like the sign of Vulcan. That there's no explanation for it. It goes back to who knows? Who knows if aliens came to Earth and helped human beings out? It goes back to Proto-Indo-European peoples. It goes back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, German idealism, whatever. It's always been around. Yeah, like the sign of Vulcan. I know DDP's talk a lot about like the diamond cutter, which is awesome for head development. I tend to prefer sign of Vulcan. Um, it's really nice for helping you with your hand development. Um, Stuff like counting, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't hurt yourself. Another is like whatever this is, like swimmy hands, so you can go swimming and stuff like that. Okay, because your hands have got to be whole and healthy for you to lift weights in the first place. Now, uh, the shoulders cannot be crunched up and in pain. That might be a sign of catabolism, like I said earlier, or it could be a sign that you have injured a shoulder or something. If you don't have proper shoulder articulation, then you don't need to be doing anything. But kind of the next step in this process is to swim that up and that one, so that you can do the Arnold thing. Okay. Notice that there has been a war on men. There has been a war on men, so they talked about limp wristedness as a sign of homosexuality. But there is such a thing as like wrist articulation. So you're gonna need that to to be human. Okay? There's other stuff. I would say you then don't need to touch any weights. You need to we'll talk about ground later on. You don't need to touch weights. You need to really touch grass. You need to go outside and breathe and get some fresh air in some socks and shoes. Not just socks, not just shoes. You need socks and shoes to go outside. Whether you take them off indoors is according to the rules of the house. Whatever. Um, Touching grass, I think when people say touching grass, it means you literally go outside and you like pet it, touch it. Now, something I have done is some laying down on the ground, which I'm just saying was not easy. Laying down on the ground. Um, Part of laying down on the ground is a sign that you have been defeated in Greco Roman wrestling. You have been defeated in Greco Roman wrestling. So, when, or like high school wrestling, whatever, what happens is that um, some people have fault. Individuals have fault. They have fault. They have fault until they cannot fight anymore. Maybe people gathered around them and threw them physically onto the ground. You got your butt kicked. So you're now a Yogan. That's why people lay down on the ground. You should not put yourself in a situation where you have been thrown onto the ground with a judo flip, but it does happen. Um, and a lot of times it's associated with the fact that you've done a lot of walking, and to the point where something else must happen. I saw like an ancient boss relief. I wish I could find it. Hang on a second. I know I'm not gonna be able to find it now. Hang on. Anyway, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. But usually in like human development, like as a baby, you'll get started crawling and then maybe walking and then standing, running, jumping, stuff like that. Well, as you get older, you something happens where, especially around the age of 30 or 40, you become totally defeated. So it's like the opposite, where you're gonna walk until you fall and you kneel and you end up laying down face down and you get up, and from now on, when you stand, you're now ready to stand, like spear in hand, shield, stuff like that. Spear, shield. That's what happens around age 40 if you know, like I said, some of this stuff, which was kind of sort of taught me, but it's not available unless you straight up hear it from somebody else. It's passed down. So here's the problem. Here's the problem. That what I'm talking about has been confused with Aryanism as well as National Socialism. And that is not the case. What we're talking about, it's not about race. Some people would say it's about being part of the human race. It's really just, like I said, non-verbal signs and symbols that you are a human being. And there's things out there like your may survival situations may require you to not only withhold information from people, but straight up lie about it. You lie for the sake of your survival. Yes, you could be called out about it. Yes, it could come back to you. You should not lie on paperwork, but occasionally, when someone comes up in a survival situation and you don't know who this person is, it's kind of like if someone's from out of town and they want to know where such and such is, you're going to give them ambiguous directions or maybe even false directions because you don't know who this person is or what they're up to or what have you. So, stuff like that. The reason why I kind of feel compelled to talk about this, I probably shouldn't. It's unwise. But I have noticed that Aryanism, uh, National Socialism, uh, issues of racial purity are now talked about openly. And it, to me, like, this what I'm talking about, this non Americanism, this kind of like being brought in to bodybuilding, getting anabolic, stuff like that. It's being a man or being a human being around the age of 30 or 40. And I don't know if I should really put that out there. But uh, what I'm talking about now is also related to being a monk or a priest or like an actor on Star Trek or it's like anything, anything. In order to continue living past the age of 30 or 40, you need help. And it's not going to be from a psychiatrist, it's not going to be from a psychologist. It's going to be from your fellow man. It's going to be from another man, or it's going to be from another woman. People have tried and tried and tried to like make statues of, this is what's got to happen to continue. Especially if you think about how uh, throughout human history, most people did not live beyond the age of 35. So if you made it to like 40 or beyond, it's because you had running water in like a sewage system. And it's kind of weird to me how indoor plumbing did not become the norm in the United States of America until like 1950. So that from what I've read, that indoor plumbing, that ability to like poo and then flush way out, is very much associated with like an extended lifespan. But it's also unfortunate that sometimes things like so, things like statins, uh, diabetes medication, psychiatric medicine seems to make people more sick than it does anything else. you need to be anabolic before you can be healthy. If that makes sense. The health may not ever come. You shower, you might get a haircut, you might brush your teeth, you might perform self care in addition to what I'm saying. But you may not ever know, beyond what I'm saying, you may not ever know health. You may not. You may feel better. You may look a little bit better, a little more hydrated, but it's an unfortunate aspect of aging and just being human. If if you've never been healthy, you may not ever be healthy. But I'm putting this out there in case something happens.